Take a deep, slow breath, letting the day dissolve as your body settles into the soft, welcoming embrace of your bed. Allow your muscles to soften and sink down, knowing you are safe, resting, and ready to journey into a world of warmth and quiet wonder. Tonight, I invite you into the deeply comforting ancient world of the tea ceremony, a practice where water, leaves, and time weave together to create a sanctuary of profound peace. For centuries, people have known that the simple act of brewing tea is a gateway to tranquility, a moment to pause and listen to the gentle rhythms of the earth. Our story begins far back in the mists of time, around the year 2737 BCE, in ancient China. Legend whispers that the mythical Emperor Shennong, a revered herbalist, was resting beneath the shade of a tree while his servant boiled drinking water. A sudden gentle breeze carried a few dried leaves from the branches above, drifting them down until they settled into the bubbling pot. The water transformed, taking on a rich golden hue and releasing an intoxicating earthy aroma. The tree above him was the Camellia sinensis, the resilient evergreen shrub native to East Asia, whose leaves would soon captivate the entire world. When you hold a warm cup of tea in your hands, you are holding a masterpiece of natural chemistry, a delicate balance of compounds designed by nature to soothe the human spirit. Within the vibrant green leaves of the Camellia sinensis plant rests a remarkable amino acid known as L-theanine. This comforting compound was first discovered and isolated by brilliant Japanese scientists in the year 1949, hidden within the delicate structure of green tea leaves. As you sip a freshly brewed cup, L-theanine works its quiet magic, naturally promoting the generation of alpha brain waves. These specific waves are the very signature of a deeply relaxed, yet gently alert mind, the exact state we seek as we wind down for the night. Imagine that soothing chemistry spreading through you, unknotting the tensions of the day. Complementing this profound relaxation is the aromatic profile of the tea itself. As the steam rises from the cup to brush against your face, you are breathing in linalool, a naturally occurring terpene found in both tea and lavender. This fragrant compound releases a delicate floral and slightly sweet scent that grounds the senses and invites the body to sigh and release its burdens. It is no wonder that the preparation of this leaf evolved from a simple beverage into a revered, mindful art form. During the brilliant Tang dynasty in China, the preparation of tea was elevated to a poetic discipline. Between the years 760 CE and 762 CE, a scholar named Lu Yu authored a magnificent text called the Classic of Tea, or Cha Jing. Lu Yu understood that to make perfect tea, one must cultivate a deep respect for every single element, especially the water. He wrote beautifully about the sensory experience of bringing water to the perfect temperature, observing it with a quiet, meditative focus. He instructed tea makers to watch for the exact stages of boiling water. The first stage, he noted, produces tiny bubbles at the bottom of the kettle, which he charmingly called shrimp eyes. As the water warms further, slightly larger bubbles form at the edges, known as crab eyes. Finally, when the water reaches a rolling, ungentle boil, it produces heavy fish eyes. Just imagining this progression, the slow gathering of heat, the tiny pearls of air rising through clear water, the soft murmuring sound of the kettle, invites a sense of slow, deliberate calm into the room. This deep reverence for the sensory experience of tea traveled across the sea to Japan in the year 1191, when a devoted Zen Buddhist monk named Aisai returned from his studies in China. bringing precious Camellia sinensis seeds with him. Eisai understood the profound stillness that tea could bring to the meditative mind. Centuries later, during the 16th century, a legendary tea master named Sen no Rikyu, who lived from 1522 to 1591, took these early traditions and formalized the Japanese tea ceremony, known as chanoyu. He championed a style called wabi-cha, which emphasized simplicity, rustic beauty, and a deep appreciation for the imperfect and the impermanent. Sen no Rikyu established 4 guiding principles for the tea ceremony that still resonate with a comforting truth today. Wa, meaning harmony. Kei, meaning respect. Sei, meaning purity. And Jaku, meaning tranquility. Imagine yourself stepping into a traditional Japanese tea room, a space built entirely to embody these 4 gentle principles. The floor is covered in woven tatami mats that yield slightly under your feet, releasing a faint, sweet scent of dried rush grass. In the center of the room sits a sunken hearth, where a heavy iron kettle, called a kama, rests over glowing embers. As the water inside the iron kettle reaches its optimal heat, it produces a distinct, resonant hum. Tea masters affectionately call this acoustic phenomenon matsukaze, which translates to the wind in the pines. Listen closely in your mind's ear to that steady, rushing whisper, a sound that instantly lowers the shoulders and softens the breath. In this space, you might be served matcha, a finely milled green tea powder with its own fascinating, meticulous journey. To create matcha, the Camellia sinensis bushes are entirely shaded from the sun for 20 to 30 days before the harvest. Deprived of direct sunlight, the leaves must work harder, furiously producing higher levels of chlorophyll and amino acids. This ancient agricultural technique, born of patience and observation, results in a powder that is a mesmerizing, vibrant shade of deep emerald green. The master scoops this bright powder into a traditional tea bowl, known as a chawan. Picture holding this bowl in your own hands. The chawan is intentionally crafted to be asymmetrical, glazed with earthy, muted colors that celebrate the rustic beauty of nature. The unglazed base feels slightly rough and porous against your fingertips, while the smooth, cool glaze, higher up, offers a comforting contrast. You are meant to hold the chawan with both hands, feeling the radiant, comforting heat of the water seeping slowly through the thick ceramic and into your palms, a physical manifestation of warmth and care. To blend the water and the vibrant green powder, the tea master uses a chasen, a traditional bamboo whisk. This remarkable tool is a marvel of ancient craftsmanship, delicately carved from a single continuous piece of bamboo. The artisan expertly splits the bamboo stalk into 80 to 100 impossibly fine, delicate tines. As the master whisks the tea, the bamboo moving rapidly through the warm water creates a soft, rhythmic swishing sound, a gentle, frothy rustle that lulls the mind into a state of quiet mesmerization. While the Japanese perfected the serene stillness of chanoyu, the Chinese artisans of the Song dynasty, which spanned from 960 to 1279 CE, birthed a tradition known as Gongfu Cha. Translated beautifully, Gongfu Cha means making tea with effort or making tea with skill. This ritual is less about strict choreography and more about maximizing the sensory delight of the leaves through multiple short infusions. It is a highly tactile, engaging ritual that requires beautiful, specialized tools. Chief among these tools are the legendary Yixing clay teapots. These small, exquisite vessels are crafted from a unique iron-rich purple clay known as xisha, found only in the Jiangsu province of China. Xisha clay has been mined and treasured since the Song dynasty because of its miraculous porous nature. When fired, the clay remains unglazed. Over years and decades of use, the microscopic pores in the clay absorb the essential oils and the rich flavors of the tea brewed within it. A well-loved Yixing teapot becomes a living memory of every warm, comforting cup it has ever held, eventually developing a smooth, lustrous patina and the ability to enhance the flavor of merely boiling water. Imagine running your thumb over the smooth, rounded lid of a centuries-old Yixing pot, feeling the history and the warmth embedded deep within the clay. Within these small clay pots, tea masters often brew oolong tea, a marvel of botanical processing. Oolong sits perfectly between green and black tea, undergoing a highly controlled, partial oxidation process. This careful, gentle bruising and oxidizing of the leaves produces unique chemical compounds called transcends, which are responsible for oolong's incredibly complex, deeply floral, and sometimes wonderfully roasted aromas. The scent alone is enough to transport you to a misty terraced mountainside at dawn. The temperature of the water in all these ceremonies is never left to chance. Herbalists and tea masters alike know that delicate green teas must never be scorched. They are brewed at gentle, lower temperatures, usually between 160 and 170 degrees Fahrenheit, or 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. This scientific precision prevents the extraction of harsh, bitter tannins from the leaves, ensuring that only the sweetest, most comforting, and deeply relaxing compounds make their way into your cup. As the centuries gently unfolded, the comforting ritual of tea wrapped its warm embrace around the entire globe, adapting to new cultures and creating new traditions of comfort. In the year 1840, Anna, the 7th Duchess of Bedford, introduced the soothing ritual of afternoon tea to England. Seeking comfort to bridge the long gap between a light lunch and a late evening meal, she requested a tray of tea, bread, and butter to be brought to her quiet, private quarters. This solitary moment of warmth soon blossomed into a cherished daily ritual of connection and pause. Across the world, and the vibrant tradition of Moroccan mint tea, known locally as a Thai, beautifully illustrates the blending of global histories. This bright, invigorating, yet deeply soothing ceremony relies on a foundation of gunpowder green tea, a specific style of tea where the leaves are tightly rolled into small, round pellets. This style of Chinese tea was introduced to North Africa in the 18th century, where it was lovingly combined with fresh, local mentha spicata or spearmint and generous amounts of sugar. The resulting brew is poured from a great height into small glass cups, creating a frothy crown of bubbles and releasing a sweet, minty steam that clears the mind and warms the chest. In every corner of the world, across thousands of years, the ritual remains a sanctuary. The elements are simple: earth, water, fire, and a quiet moment in time. The delicate unfurling of the leaves in the warm water, the gentle rise of fragrant steam, the grounding warmth of the cup resting heavily in your hands. All these sensations are a timeless invitation to rest, to slow down, to steep yourself in the gentle ancient wisdom of the natural world. Let the rich history and the soothing science of the tea leaf surround you now, a comforting blanket woven from centuries of quiet, mindful moments. As we journey further along this fragrant timeline, consider how the very roots of these traditions stretch back across vast, rugged landscapes, acting as a physical bridge between ancient peoples. The story of tea is a beautifully woven tapestry of time, and each cup you steep holds the soil of forgotten empires. Picture the ancient Chamadao, a formidable network of winding mountain paths, known in English as the Tea Horse Road. Beginning during the Tang Dynasty, between the years 618 and 907 CE, this perilous and majestic route connected the lush, subtropical tea forests of China's Yunnan province to the towering, wind-swept plateaus of Tibet. Porters would carry staggering loads of compressed tea, sometimes weighing up to 90 kilograms, walking through mist and snow for months on end to trade these precious leaves for sturdy Tibetan ponies. To survive this long, arduous journey, the freshly harvested leaves were tightly pressed into heavy, flat discs called bingcha. But something extraordinary happened during those months of travel through shifting climates and changing altitudes. The ambient humidity of the journey initiated a deep, slow post-fermentation process. Deep within the tightly packed leaves, a beneficial, naturally occurring microbe known as Aspergillus niger began to transform the tea. This slow biological alchemy created what we now know as pu'er tea. When steeped today, beautifully aged pu'er releases an intoxicating, grounding aroma that perfectly mimics petrichor, that rich, deeply comforting scent of dry earth, receiving its first heavy summer rainfall. It is an olfactory embrace that instantly settles the nervous system, anchoring you firmly in the present moment. Before the leaves are even harvested, to make such journeys, the Camellia sinensis plant offers its own marvels of natural protection. Think of the delicate white teas, such as Silver Needle or Baihao Yinjin, which are plucked by hand for only a few fleeting days in early spring. If you look closely at these pale, unopened buds, you will see they are covered in microscopic silvery white hairs called trichomes. Botanists understand that these downy structures serve a vital purpose, naturally insulating the fragile bud from late spring frosts and deterring high-altitude insects. When you slowly brew this pristine tea, those tiny trichomes gently detach, giving the warm, golden liquor a notably thick, velvety texture that coats the throat in soft, soothing warmth. Notice how humanity's search for botanical comfort extends far beyond the traditional tea leaf, embracing a wider, vibrant world of herbal infusions, traditionally known as tisanes. The instinct to steep local flora in hot, steaming water is a deeply universal human practice. Journey back in your mind to the sun-baked banks of the Nile River around the year 1550 BCE. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest and most meticulously preserved medical texts of ancient Egypt, carefully documents the widespread use of chamomile. The ancient Egyptians revered this golden daisy-like flower so deeply that they dedicated it to Ra, their sun god, believing its vibrant yellow center captured and held the healing, comforting power of solar warmth. Later, the ancient Greeks would encounter this same comforting bloom, naming it Kamaimelon, which translates beautifully to earth apple. It is a wonderfully fitting title, for when you crush a dried chamomile flower between your fingers, it releases a distinct sweet fragrance, perfectly reminiscent of crisp, freshly fallen apples, warming in an autumn orchard. Steeping these golden blossoms releases a cascade of soothing floral notes, tucking you into a profound, centuries-old lineage of twilight relaxation. Picture this: entirely different continents birthing their own unique steaming cups of comfort. High in the rugged Cedarburg Mountains of South Africa, indigenous sand populations discovered a slender, needle-leafed shrub over 300 years ago. This hardy, resilient plant, Aspalathus linearis, is known around the world today as rooibos, meaning red bush. The San people ingeniously learned to harvest the needle-like leaves, gently bruise them with wooden mallets, and leave them in small heaps to oxidize under the warm, golden African sun. This traditional sun-drying process shifts the green needles into a stunning shade of deep, rich mahogany. What makes rooibos particularly suited for evening stillness is its unique botanical profile. Scientists discovered it is entirely caffeine-free, and it contains a rare, highly potent flavonoid called aspalathin. When submerged in boiling water, rooibos yields a sweet, slightly earthy, and naturally nutty liquid, glowing like liquid amber in the cup, a perfect, deeply warming companion for the dark, quiet hours of the night. As the global thirst for these soothing brews grew, the lengths to which humans would go to secure them became truly extraordinary, driving historical eras of maritime adventure and botanical ingenuity. In the 17th century, the powerful British East India Company placed its first recorded order for Chinese tea in the year 1664. But by the 19th century, the intense desire to cultivate these leaves independently led to one of history's most fascinating botanical operations. In 1848, a Scottish botanist named Robert Fortune was tasked with discreetly acquiring living Camellia sinensis plants from the tightly guarded mountains of China, with the goal of transplanting them halfway across the world in India. To ensure the fragile tea seedlings survived the turbulent ocean voyage, Fortune utilized a brilliant, newly invented device called a Wardian case. Created by Dr. Nathaniel Bagshaw Ward in 1829, this tightly sealed glass container functioned as an early terrarium, creating its own self-sustaining microclimate. Moisture evaporating from the soil would condense on the glass and drip back down, keeping the seedlings perfectly hydrated through months at sea. These surviving plants ultimately flourished in the mist-shrouded foothills of the Himalayas, giving rise to the celebrated lush tea estates of Darjeeling. At these extreme elevations, ranging from 2,000 to 6,000 feet above sea level, the tea bush experiences intense environmental stress from the cold mountain air. This high-altitude chill forces the plant to adapt by furiously producing incredibly complex aromatic compounds, most notably a naturally occurring chemical called geraniol. When you sip a warm cup of Darjeeling, it is geraniol that delivers its famous comforting scent of fresh roses and sweet muscatel grapes. It is a flavor profile so bright and delicate that it has affectionately been dubbed the champagne of teas. At this very moment, in different parts of the world, other historical tea rituals focus entirely on the communal gathering of warmth. In the mid-18th century, deep in the snow-blanketed Ural Mountains of Russia, the skilled metalworkers invented the samovar, a magnificent, gleaming, urn-shaped water heater designed to conquer the freezing winters. A traditional samovar features a vertical metal pipe running directly through its center, which is packed with solid fuel, like glowing hardwood coals or dried pine cones. As the pine cones burn inside the chimney, they heat the surrounding reservoir of water to a constant, comforting simmer, occasionally imparting a faint, cozy whisper of pine smoke to the crisp indoor air. Perched gently atop the chimney of the samovar sits a small, separate teapot containing zavarka, an incredibly dark, highly concentrated brew of black tea. To serve a cup, one pours a small measure of the potent zavarka into a glass mug or teacup, then dilutes it to their exact preference using the continuously hot water from the samovar's lower spigot. The samovar acts as the beating, heated heart of the home, radiating a steadfast metallic warmth that chases away the deepest winter chills. To beautifully balance the robust strength of such dark black teas, humans have long blended them with vibrant, fragrant botanical oils. Consider the globally beloved Earl Grey tea. Its distinctive uplifting aroma is entirely due to the addition of precious oil extracted from the bergamot orange, scientifically named Citrus bergamia. This small, knobby citrus fruit is quite rare, thriving almost exclusively in the sun-drenched coastal region of Calabria in southern Italy. The precious essential oil is hidden entirely within the fruit's thick, pebbled rind. Through a meticulous, ancient process called cold pressing, the rind is squeezed to release a highly fragrant terpene called limonene. Blending the bright, zesty aroma of Calabrian limonene with the deep malty base of oxidized black tea creates a brilliant harmony of the senses. The sharp citrus notes gently lift the mood and clear the mind, while the warm tea base roots the body, creating a beautifully balanced cup that feels like a reassuring hand resting softly on your shoulder. Brewing tea is truly like reading the rings of a grand ancient tree. Every sip contains the stories of intrepid botanists, ancient emperors, sun-drenched mountainsides, and the quiet, soothing innovations of our ancestors, all steeping together in perfect harmony. Deep within the delicate folds of a dried tea leaf lies a remarkable ability to capture and hold on to its surroundings. The leaf acts as a botanical hard drive, diligently storing the memories of the soil, the altitude, and the surrounding flora, waiting patiently to download those sensory experiences directly into your cup. Think of the way an open box of baking soda perfectly absorbs the varied scents inside a refrigerator. The Camellia sinensis leaf behaves in much the same way, acting as a highly receptive botanical sponge. Ancient herbalists understood this highly absorbent quality and utilized it to create one of the most soothing sensory experiences in human history: the scenting of jasmine tea. This fragrant practice first blossomed during the Southern Song dynasty, spanning the years 1127 to 1279 CE, within the misty valleys of China's Fujian province. To create traditional jasmine tea, artisans do not simply mix dried flower petals into the tea. Instead, they rely on a breathtaking, time-intensive rhythm dictated by nature itself. They harvest the closed buds of the Jasminum sambac plant during the peak heat of the afternoon. However, these specific flowers only bloom in the cool, quiet hours of the night. As evening falls and the air cools, the jasmine buds gently pop open, releasing a sweet, heavy vapor driven by a highly aromatic chemical compound known as benzyl acetate. Imagine a greenhouse filled with thousands of these tiny white blossoms, opening their petals in unison as the moon rises. The tea makers layer green tea leaves directly beneath these blooming flowers. Much like a dry towel soaking up spilled water, the highly porous tea leaves effortlessly absorb the benzyl acetate vapor overnight. In the morning, the spent blossoms are carefully sifted out and the tea is dried. This meticulous layering process is repeated up to 9 times over several weeks, creating a finished green tea that hums with the velvety, intoxicating fragrance of a midnight garden. Drinking it feels like inhaling the soft, sweet air of a late summer evening. Consider another visually stunning manipulation of the tea leaf, an art form that transforms the simple act of brewing into a captivating performance. In the mountainous regions of Yunnan and Anhui, skilled artisans craft what is known as blooming tea or flowering tea. To construct these small botanical marvels, the artist takes soft, pliable spring tea leaves and painstakingly sews them together by hand, using fine cotton thread. They carefully wrap the green leaves around a brightly colored dried blossom, often a vibrant pink globe amaranth, scientifically known as Gomphrena globosa, or a brilliant orange marigold, known as Tagetes erecta. The entire bundle is then tightly bound into a dense, unassuming sphere and dried. When you place this hard, compact sphere into a clear glass teapot filled with hot water, something magical occurs. The hot water seeps into the dried leaves, hydrating them and causing the cotton thread to gently expand. Slowly, the tight bundle begins to loosen, much like a tightly wound ball of yarn, softly unraveling across a wooden floor. The green leaves fall away in a delicate cascade, and the hidden flower inside buoyantly pushes its way to the top, blossoming once more. Watching this unfurling process is like viewing a high-speed time-lapse film of a spring garden blooming in miniature, providing a visual comfort that perfectly matches the physical warmth of the water. What's happening now, inside that clear glass teapot, is a microscopic ballet of chemistry, largely dictated by the water itself. For centuries, tea masters have known that the quality of water is just as important as the leaf. Think of pure spring water as a pristine, blank canvas, and the dissolved minerals within it as a special primer, preparing the surface to hold the vibrant paints of the tea. If water is completely devoid of minerals, the tea tastes incredibly flat and lifeless. But if the water contains the precise to delicate balance of calcium and magnesium ions, often found in natural mountain springs, these minerals chemically bind to the aromatic compounds within the leaves, pulling them out and anchoring them to your taste buds. Furthermore, as the hot water interacts with the leaf, it extracts naturally occurring complex carbohydrates called pectins. Pectin is the exact same substance that a baker uses to thicken fruit juices into rich, spreadable jams and jellies. In a well-brewed cup of tea, these extracted pectins subtly thicken the water, transforming a thin liquid into a smooth, slightly viscous broth. This creates what tea sommeliers refer to as mouthfeel, a heavy, velvety texture that coats the throat like a soft, silken scarf, offering deep, physical reassurance with every single sip. Hey, picture this: stepping away from the delicate Camellia sinensis entirely and traveling deep into the lush emerald rainforests of South America. Here, we find a completely different botanical tradition built around the exact same human desire for shared comfort. Long before European explorers arrived, the indigenous Guarani people discovered the revitalizing properties of a local holly tree known to botanists as Ilex paraguariensis. The leaves of this vibrant evergreen are harvested to create yerba mate, a beverage so deeply woven into the cultural fabric of Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil that sharing it is considered a profound gesture of hospitality, much like inviting a weary traveler to sit beside a roaring hearth fire. Unlike traditional teas, yerba mate possesses a completely unique molecular profile. Scientists discovered that alongside a gentle stimulant called matine, which is a stereoisomer of caffeine, these holly leaves contain a significant amount of theobromine. If that name sounds familiar, it is because theobromine is the primary alkaloid found in rich, dark chocolate. In the human body, theobromine functions as a mild, natural, smooth muscle relaxant. It expands the blood vessels and gently soothes the nervous system, providing a deep, grounded sense of physical ease that perfectly balances the mental clarity provided by the matane. Notice how the preparation of yerba mate utilizes tools that look nothing like porcelain teapots, yet serve the exact same comforting purpose. The leaves are traditionally packed into a hollowed-out, dried calabash gourd, which fits perfectly into the palm of the hand, radiating a steadfast, woody warmth. To drink the infusion without swallowing the loose chopped leaves, one uses a specialized metal straw called a bombilla. At the bottom of the bombilla is a flattened, perforated bulb. It functions identically to the metal mesh screen inside a French press coffee maker, but in reverse, filtering the liquid as it is drawn up rather than pushing the grounds down. This brilliant practical design allows the drinker to continuously refill the gourd with hot water, passing it back and forth among friends in a slow, rhythmic circle of shared stillness. At this very moment, in the humid southern provinces of China, artisans are utilizing another remarkable method of preserving botanical comfort, relying on a process that resembles the meticulous aging of fine cheeses. In the Guangxi province, tea masters produce a revered dark tea called liu bao. After the leaves are harvested and oxidized, they are packed tightly into enormous woven bamboo baskets. These towering baskets are then stacked inside specialized aging rooms, where the ambient temperature and humidity are carefully monitored and maintained for years, or even decades. These aging rooms function exactly like a finely tuned cheese cave or an ancient subterranean wine cellar. The porous bamboo allows the tea leaves to breathe, slowly absorbing moisture from the air. Over time, this perfectly balanced humidity encourages the growth of a highly beneficial, naturally occurring yellow fungus, known scientifically as Eurodium cristatum. Tea merchants affectionately refer to these tiny, bright yellow clusters as golden flowers. As the Eurodium cristatum blooms throughout the packed leaves, it secretes enzymes that break down the harsh, astringent tannins in the tea, transforming the flavor into something incredibly smooth, deeply sweet, and rich with notes of damp earth and old pine wood. Much like an antique piece of wooden furniture that grows more beautiful and lustrous with decades of gentle polishing, these aged dark teas become smoother and more comforting as the years quietly pass. They remind us that true comfort cannot be rushed. Whether it is the overnight absorption of sweet jasmine vapor, the slow, mesmerizing unfurling of a hand-tied blossom, the communal passing of a warm gourd, or the decades-long slumber of dark tea in a woven basket, the pursuit of a warm cup is a testament to patience. It is an enduring, beautiful reminder that carefully tending to the small, quiet details of the natural world can yield a profound, sheltering peace. As you rest there, surrounded by the quiet hum of the night, perhaps you can recall a moment when a warm drink brought you an unexpected sense of profound relief. Maybe it was a mug of something hot after a long walk in the crisp autumn air, or a soothing cup handed to you by someone you love when you felt particularly weary. That deeply personal, instinctual response to a warm vessel in your hands is a beautiful biological echo of thousands of years of human evolution. When we pause our busy lives to engage in these rituals, we are not just drinking a beverage. We are anchoring ourselves to a legacy of grounding practices, teaching our bodies that it is finally safe to rest. Let us journey deeper into the botanical science that makes this relaxation so deeply effective. Beyond the Camellia sinensis plant, herbalists have long turned to a remarkable herb native to southern Europe and parts of Asia, known as lemon balm, or Melissa officinalis. If you were to gently rub a fresh leaf of lemon balm between your fingers, you would instantly release a bright, sweet citrus scent. This delightful fragrance comes from a volatile oil called citronellol. But the true comforting magic of lemon balm lies within a compound it produces called rosmarinic acid. In the 1990s, researchers investigating the long-standing folklore surrounding lemon balm discovered exactly how rosmarinic acid interacts with the human nervous system. Within our bodies, we produce an essential neurotransmitter called GABA, which acts exactly like the heavy velvet curtains in a theater, drawing to a close to dim the lights and quiet the noise of the brain. However, an enzyme naturally breaks down GABA over time. The rosmarinic acid found in lemon balm gently inhibits this enzyme, allowing the soothing GABA to remain in your system longer. Drinking a warm infusion of lemon balm is akin to gently pulling those heavy velvet curtains shut, signaling to your entire nervous system that the performance of the day is over. Imagine how this botanical support system weaves into the larger rhythm of your life. Every evening ritual, whether it is folding down the sheets, dimming the lamps, or brewing a final cup, serves as a gentle physical boundary between the demands of the day and the sanctuary of the night. Across the globe, in the vast, a vibrant continent of India, this evening boundary is often drawn with a beautifully complex, highly spiced brew known as masala chai. The roots of masala chai stretch back deeply into Ayurvedic tradition, an ancient system of holistic wellness developed in India over 3,000 years ago. In Ayurveda, spices are not merely culinary additions. They are potent botanical tools used to balance the body's internal energies. To craft a traditional masala chai, one begins by vigorously crushing fresh pods of green cardamom, scientifically classified as Elateria cardamomum. Cardamom is a botanical powerhouse containing a compound called eucalyptol. If you have ever breathed in the sharp, clearing scent of a eucalyptus tree, you know the sensation of eucalyptol. In a warm cup of chai, this compound gently opens the airways, encouraging those deep, slow, diaphragmatic breaths that naturally lower the heart rate. To the crushed cardamom, an artisan might add slivers of fresh ginger root, known as Zingiber officinale. When ginger is heated in simmering water, its primary bioactive compound, gingerol, transforms into a slightly sweeter, deeply warming substance called zingerone. This chemical shift is what gives brewed ginger its comforting internal heat, radiating a steady, glowing warmth from the center of the chest outward. Notice how the preparation of masala chai is entirely different from the quiet, solitary stillness of the Japanese tea room. Chai is a boisterous, bubbling, deeply aromatic process. The crushed spices, cardamom, ginger, perhaps a stick of cinnamomum verum, true cinnamon, and a few whole cloves, are thrown directly into a pot of rapidly boiling water, along with a strong malty black tea like Assam. After a few moments of vigorous boiling, rich whole milk is poured directly into the pot, immediately turning the dark rolling water into a soothing, creamy amber. As the milk heats, its natural sugars, lactose, undergo a gentle caramelization process known as the Maillard reaction, naturally sweetening the brew and adding a deep, rounded comfort to the spicy heat. Think about how a practice like boiling milk and spices anchors a family to a shared rhythm. In many Indian households, the rhythmic crushing of spices in a brass mortar and pestle is the defining acoustic backdrop of the early morning or the late afternoon. It is a daily grounding routine that provides a predictable structure to a chaotic world. When we establish our own calming routines, we build a similar architectural framework for our well-being, constructing a reliable bridge that leads us from the active, daytime mind into a state of quiet repose. At this very moment, high in the rugged, majestic Andes Mountains of South America, we find another fascinating example of humanity utilizing hot water to draw profound comfort from the local flora. the indigenous Quechua people have long brewed an herbal infusion known as mate de coca. The leaves of the Erythroxylum coca bush are steeped in boiling water to create a mild, slightly bitter greenish-yellow tea. While the coca leaf is often misunderstood globally in its natural, unrefined state, it functions as an essential, deeply comforting adaptogen for the people living at these extreme, oxygen-thin altitudes. The leaves contain a complex matrix of over a dozen natural alkaloids, alongside a rich supply of vitamins, iron, and calcium. When brewed gently into a tea, these compounds work in harmony to subtly increase blood circulation and oxygen uptake, warding off the exhausting, dizzying effects of altitude sickness. Sharing a cup of mate de coca with a weary traveler arriving in the high-altitude city of Cusco is a profound act of care, an offering of biological equilibrium wrapped in the warmth of a steaming mug. Look closely at how entirely different cultures utilize the exact same botanical families to create completely unique, deeply rooted traditions. Both the high-altitude Darjeeling teas we explored earlier and the globally cherished Earl Grey rely on the vast, complex family of terpenes to deliver their comforting scents. Terpenes are the massive class of organic compounds responsible for the distinct fragrances of almost all plants. They are the chemical vocabulary that plants use to communicate with the environment around them. Deep within the structural makeup of the Camellia sinensis leaf lies a specific terpene called nerolidol. This remarkable compound is also found heavily concentrated in the blossoms of the bitter orange tree, which are used to produce the highly prized, deeply relaxing essential oil known as neroli. When you brew certain varieties of oolong tea, specifically those originating from the high, craggy cliffs of the Wuyi Mountains in China, the hot water coaxes this nerolidol out of the leaf. As you lift the cup to your lips, your olfactory receptors detect this terpene, and your brain instantly recognizes the scent of sweet, woody orange blossoms. This biological recognition immediately triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, initiating the rest and digest response that we so desperately need at the end of a long day. Picture this: engaging in a tea ritual is essentially creating an intentional, quiet dialogue between your own biology and the complex chemistry of the botanical world. It is a slow, deliberate conversation that has been unfolding across continents and centuries. Consider the beautiful, stark simplicity of the Korean tea ceremony, known as dari, which translates beautifully to etiquette for tea. Developed over 1,000 years ago during the Goryeo dynasty, the Korean approach is remarkably unpretentious, focusing heavily on the natural, effortless flow of the moment. In a traditional Darye ceremony, the host uses a specialized set of Celadon teaware, renowned for its pale jade-green glaze. The beauty of Korean Celadon lies in a deliberate glaze defect known as crazing. As the ceramic cools after being fired in the kiln, the glaze shrinks slightly faster than the clay beneath it, creating a delicate, intricate network of microscopic cracks across the surface. These tiny fissures are not considered flaws. Rather, they are celebrated as a beautiful testament to the unpredictable nature of the elements. Over years of brewing, the pale green tea slowly seeps into these microscopic cracks, staining them slightly and highlighting the intricate spiderweb pattern. Just like an old, beloved leather chair that has softened and molded to perfectly fit its owner over decades, these Celadon cups become deeply personal artifacts. They remind us that true comfort does not require perfection. The chips, the stains, the slight asymmetries in our teacups, much like the unexpected turns in our own lives, add character, depth, and beauty to the long-term journey. The gentle, warming practice of preparing tea allows us to pause, hold that imperfect beauty in our hands, and find a profound, sheltering peace within it. Consider the brilliant ruby-red hues of black tea shimmering in the ambient light, and how the visual presentation of a warm drink can offer just as much comfort as the liquid itself. In the bustling historic markets of Istanbul, the preparation of Turkish tea, known locally as say, is a deeply visual and auditory anchor. In the 1930s, the founder of the modern Turkish Republic, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, encouraged the massive cultivation of Camellia sinensis along the lush, rain-fed Rize province bordering the Black Sea. Since then, the culture has embraced a brewing method that highlights the sheer beauty of the leaves. Notice how this specific tea is almost never served in opaque, heavy ceramic. Instead, it is poured into delicate tulip-shaped glass cups, known as ince belly. The uniquely curved waist of this glass naturally retains the comforting heat at the bottom, while the flared rim allows the liquid to cool just enough before it touches the lips. Through the clear, curved glass, one can admire the brew's vibrant, glowing crimson color, affectionately referred to by local tea masters as tavşan kanı, or rabbit's blood. It is a shade of profound, warming depth that invites the eyes to rest and the mind to soften. Scientists discovered that this stunning red color is not actually present in the fresh, living green leaf. What's happening now is a wondrous result of enzymatic oxidation, a slow, natural metamorphosis. During the curing process, the small, simple catechins in the leaf break down and recombine to form entirely new, complex molecules. In the late 1950s, a British biochemist named E.A.H. Roberts formally identified these large pigmented molecules. He named them theaflavins, which contribute a bright golden orange hue, and thearubicins, which provide that deep, sheltering, reddish-brown depth. You are not just looking at hot water. You are witnessing a magnificent botanical transformation that has been carefully guided by human hands. Deep within the cup, the hot water itself plays a crucial protective role in delivering this comfort. Water possesses an incredibly high specific heat capacity, specifically measuring 4.184 joules per gram. This unique thermodynamic property means that water requires a tremendous amount of energy to heat up, but equally, it holds on to that thermal energy for a beautifully long time, releasing it slowly and steadily. Think of hot water as a thermal prism. Just as a heavy glass prism catches a single dense beam of white light and fractures it into a brilliant spreading rainbow across a quiet room, the heated water acts as a botanical prism. It penetrates the dry, tightly curled tea leaf and fractures its dormant, stored potential into a wide spectrum of aromatic compounds, rich colors, and velvety textures, filling the surrounding air with peace. At this very moment, if you were to peer closely at the surface of a strongly brewed cup of black tea resting in a ceramic mug, you might observe a thin, beautifully iridescent film shimmering on the surface, catching the low light like a delicate, translucent veil. For decades, the exact chemical nature of this film was a quiet mystery among botanists. In 2021, researchers at the prestigious ETH Zurich University precisely analyzed this gentle phenomenon, known scientifically as a tea pellicle. They found it is actually a microscopic, protective layer formed when the natural calcium carbonate found in tap water interacts with the tea's organic compounds at the precise boundary where the warm liquid meets the cool air. This incredibly fragile, invisible blanket alters the surface tension of the water, subtly changing how the tea flows over the palate, adding to that soft, rounded mouthfeel that brings so much physical solace. Picture this. The careful curation of sensory comfort extends far beyond the liquid itself, shaping the very architecture of the physical spaces built to house these rituals. When the revered 16th century Japanese tea master, Sen no Rikyu, designed the famous Taian tea house in 1582, he intentionally manipulated the physical environment to foster a profound sense of humility and quiet focus. He created a specific small doorway for the tea house known as a nijiriguchi, which translates to a crawling-in entrance. Measuring merely 2.5 feet high, this brilliant architectural feature physically requires every single guest, regardless of their societal rank or worldly burdens, to bow deeply, leave their armor and worries outside, and slide humbly into the dimly lit, tranquil space. The heavy sliding wooden door produces a low, grounding scrape against its bamboo track, a sound intentionally designed to signal the definitive end of the outside world. Inside, the soft, muted shadows cast by paper shoji screens turn the preparation of the tea into a slow-moving meditation where the eye is naturally drawn to the gentle, hypnotic wisp of steam rising from the iron kettle. Consider how our botanical curiosity has also unlocked entirely different sensory experiences that comfort the body in uniquely paradoxical ways. Herbalists have long prescribed the steeping of peppermint, scientifically classified as Mentha crosspyperita, to calm a weary stomach and quiet the mind before bed. When you brew a hot cup of peppermint tea, a highly volatile organic compound called menthol is carried upward by the steam. What's happening now is a beautiful sensory contradiction. Menthol has a wondrous ability to directly interact with the somatosensory system. Specifically, it binds to a special protein receptor in our skin and mouth called TRPM8. This is the exact receptor responsible for detecting cold temperatures in the environment. As you sip the steaming hot liquid, the menthol triggers the TRPM8 receptor, sending a harmless, deceptive signal to your nervous system. You experience a bright, refreshing, icy cool sensation, sweeping gently through your chest and sinuses, even as the physical heat of the water warms your hands and throat. This fascinating interplay between hot and cold jolts the mind out of its anxious, repetitive loops, grounding your awareness entirely in the present, physical sensation of the cup. Deep within the misty, ancient limestone valleys of Guilin, China, a stunning region whose very name translates to Forest of Sweet Osmanthus, another sensory masterpiece is carefully cultivated. For centuries, the tiny golden yellow blossoms of the Osmanthus fragrans tree have been harvested and blended with lightly oxidized tea leaves. Botanists know that these miniature, unassuming flowers are incredibly rich in a powerful volatile compound named beta-ionone. When infused in warm water, beta-ionone releases an astonishingly potent, fruity aroma that perfectly mimics the scent of ripe, sun-warmed peaches and sweet, golden apricots. The aroma is so thick, honeyed and velvety that it feels almost tactile in the air, creating an olfactory blanket that softly wraps around the senses. The scent of osmanthus strongly stimulates the olfactory bulb, the small neural structure at the front of the brain. This bulb sits directly adjacent to the amygdala, the deep, ancient emotional center of the mind. This direct biological pathway explains why the specific, sweet fragrance of a warm, floral tea can instantly trigger a wave of gentle nostalgia and profound emotional safety, naturally slowing the heartbeat before the first drop even touches the tongue. Notice how these protective, comforting compounds are woven into ancient spiritual practices as well, creating a bridge between physical chemistry and inner stillness. In traditional Indian households, the brewing of tulsi, widely revered as holy basil or Oxymum tenuiflorum, is a sacred daily ritual of care. The soft, slightly fuzzy purple-green leaves of the tulsi plant are packed with an aromatic essential oil called eugenol. This is the exact same chemical compound that gives whole cloves their deeply spicy, woody, and intensely comforting fragrance. Within the body, eugenol acts as a natural, gentle analgesic and anti-inflammatory agent, providing a subtle, soothing, numbing warmth to the back of the throat and the upper chest. The sensory experience of sipping warm tulsi is earthy, peppery, and deeply grounding. It serves as a fragrant, heavy anchor that safely tethers a racing, restless mind back to the quiet, steady, rhythmic rising and falling of the breath. It is the wisdom of the earth, translated into warmth, aroma, and profound biological peace, waiting patiently in the cup to soothe you. As the night deepens and the world outside your window grows quiet, the very act of preparing a final twilight cup perfectly mirrors the biological descent into rest. It is a gentle, step-by-step journey of softening, a deliberate unraveling of the day's tightly wound threads. Just as dry leaves slowly yield their comforting essence to warm water, your body is now beginning its own beautifully orchestrated process of yielding to sleep. To understand this gradual unfolding, observe the delicate preparation of linden tea, crafted from the heart-shaped leaves and pale yellow blossoms of the Tilia cordata tree. Since the Middle Ages, European herbalists have carefully harvested these blossoms in the warm, late June sunlight, stringing them up in cool, dark barns to dry over several weeks. When you finally submerge these dried, papery flowers in simmering water, a fascinating slow-motion botanical process begins. The hot water meticulously extracts mucilage, a complex, naturally occurring polysaccharide stored within the plant's cellular walls. Minute by minute, this mucilage binds with the water molecules, transforming the thin, clear liquid into a beautifully thick, soothing, botanical gel. As you swallow this warm infusion, the mucilage physically coats the mucous membranes of the throat and esophagus, providing a gentle, step-by-step physical relief that quiets any lingering irritation and signals to the body that it is safe to soften. This profound understanding of gradual botanical extraction caught the attention of brilliant scientific minds long ago. In the year 1913, a French pharmacist named René Maurice Gattefossé extensively studied the slow, in distillation processes of fragrant plants, including the sweet honey-like blossoms of the linden tree and the iconic purple spikes of lavender. By meticulously observing how these volatile aromatic compounds physically interacted with human tissue over time, he laid the foundational science for modern aromatherapy. His research proved that comfort is not instantaneous. It is a methodical biological process of absorption and response. We see this slow chemical lullaby perfectly demonstrated in the preparation of Valeriana officinalis, commonly known as valerian root. The use of this deeply grounding plant was meticulously documented in the 1st century AD by the Greek physician Dioscorides, who included it in his monumental pharmacopoeia, Materia Medica. The process of brewing valerian requires patience, because the essential, comforting compounds are locked deep within a tough, fibrous root system. They cannot be quickly flashed with boiling water. Instead, herbalists employ a process called decoction. The roots are placed in cold water, which is then brought to a very slow, gentle simmer over 20 to 30 minutes. Gradually, this sustained heat draws out a highly specialized compound called valerianic acid. Once this warm, earthy decoction is consumed, the valerianic acid begins a step-by-step journey through your bloodstream, eventually crossing the blood-brain barrier. There, it seeks out and interacts with your GABA-A receptors. Rather than forcing the mind to shut down, it slowly alters the architecture of the receptor, increasing its natural affinity for the calming neurotransmitter GABA. It is a biological decrescendo, turning down the volume of your racing thoughts notch by notch, smoothly paving the way for undisturbed rest. Often, herbalists will thoughtfully blend this heavy root with the delicate trailing vines of Passiflora incarnata, the vibrant purple passion flower. Long before European contact, Native American tribes, particularly the Cherokee, understood the step-by-step calming sequence initiated by brewing the leaves and stems of this magnificent vine. It was later named passion flower by Spanish explorers in 1569, who saw intricate religious symbolism in its unique, fringed anatomy. Modern chemistry reveals that the slow steeping of this vine releases a potent flavonoid known as chrysin. As the chrysin slowly accumulates in your system, it actively dismantles the physical sensations of restlessness, releasing tension from the muscles one fiber at a time. The very vessels we use to hold these twilight infusions are often created through equally mesmerizing, methodical processes of transformation. Consider the creation of traditional Japanese raku-ware, or rakuyaki, a ceramic technique developed in the 1580s by a highly skilled tile maker named Chojiro. The creation of a raku tea bowl is a magnificent step-by-step dance with the elements. First, the clay is shaped by hand, bypassing the symmetrical perfection of the potter's wheel, allowing the natural warmth and pressure of the artisan's palms to guide the form. Once the bowl is glazed, the firing process begins. Unlike modern kilns that slowly heat and cool over days, raku pottery is subjected to a rapid, intense transformation. The bowl is placed into a roaring kiln until it reaches a glowing incandescent peak of around 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, or 1,000 degrees Celsius. Using long iron tongs, the artisan carefully extracts the radiant, glowing bowl and immediately plunges it into a small reduction chamber filled with combustible materials, such as dried sawdust or fallen leaves. The moment the incredibly hot ceramic touches the sawdust, the wood instantly ignites. The artisan quickly seals the chamber, deliberately starving the small fire of oxygen. This specific step-by-step chemical environment, intense heat, followed immediately by severe oxygen reduction, forces the fire to pull oxygen directly from the glaze itself. Over the next hour, as the bowl slowly cools within the smoky darkness, the glaze transforms. Simple copper compounds morph into striking, iridescent metallic hues, while the unglazed clay turns a deep, sheltering, matte black. When the bowl is finally revealed, it smells faintly of wood smoke and bears the beautiful, unpredictable marks of its journey. Holding a raku bowl is a physical reminder that enduring periods of intense heat and darkness often yield the most profound, resilient beauty. If that ceramic vessel should ever fracture, the Japanese tradition of kintsugi provides a step-by-step blueprint for mending what is broken, mirroring the precise way our bodies repair themselves during the long hours of the night. Kintsugi originated in the late 15th century, after the Japanese shogun Ashikaga Yoshimasa sent a damaged Chinese tea bowl away for repairs and was displeased by the ugly metal staples used to hold it together. Choice. He tasked his artisans to find a more beautiful, respectful process. They responded by developing a method that uses a specialized lacquer derived from the sap of the Toxicodendron vernicifluum. commonly known as the urushi tree. The process of kintsugi cannot be rushed. The artisan carefully paints the edges of the broken ceramic with the urushi lacquer, presses the pieces together, and places the bowl in a muro, a specialized warm wooden cabinet with extremely high humidity. Over several weeks, the sap slowly polymerizes, absorbing the ambient moisture to harden into an incredibly durable bond. In the final stage, the artisan gently dusts the repaired seams with finely powdered gold, silver, or platinum. The bowl is made whole again, not by hiding its fractures, but by illuminating the slow, careful process of its healing. At this exact moment, your body is embarking on its own internal process of golden repair. The simple act of drinking a hot herbal infusion sets off a beautifully choreographed sequence of thermoregulation. First, as the warm liquid reaches your stomach, specialized nerve endings called thermoreceptors detect the heat. They immediately send a message upward to your hypothalamus, the biological thermostat resting near the base of your brain. The hypothalamus responds by initiating a process called vasodilation. Step by step, it gently widens the blood vessels near the surface of your skin, particularly in your hands and feet. As the warm blood flows outward to your extremities, your core body temperature begins a slow, deliberate descent. This subtle internal cooling process is absolutely essential for deep rest. As your core temperature drops, it signals your pineal gland to begin the complex chemical synthesis of melatonin from its precursor, serotonin. The darkness of your room, the cooling of your body, and the quiet comfort of your evening routine have all perfectly aligned, initiating the cascading biological sequence that carries you gracefully across the threshold of wakefulness. Sinking gradually into the mattress beneath you, you can trust in the magnificent quiet processes unfolding within your cells. Just as the tea leaf yields its wisdom to the water, you can yield entirely to the gravity of your bed. The day is done. The steep is complete. Every muscle, every fiber, every quiet thought is now bathed in the restorative golden lacquer of rest. You are completely safe. You are surrounded by the ancient, nurturing warmth of countless generations who have found peace in the quiet dark of the night. As the body cools, the mind softens, and the breath becomes a slow, rhythmic tide. Allow the healing to begin. Surrender to the quiet. Rest deeply now, held in the sheltering embrace of the night, trusting the dawn will come in its own time. May you find profound comfort, perfect stillness, and absolute peace. Good night.